So lesson 8-7, we're almost done with this section, with this chapter, I guess I should say. You did this last year. Last year we split it into 2 days. We split it into solve inequalities by adding and subtracting, and then solve inequalities by multiplying or dividing. So this is nothing new to you. You've done this before. And if you remember how to solve an equation, you know how to solve these. So it's not working. All right, so let's get past these. Let's start with this. Okay. So solving inequalities with adding and subtracting. Now, how many of you remember how to solve, solve an equation that looks like this? What would you do to solve this, Gabe? Yep, minus 3, t is going to equal 4, okay? Now, you're going to solve inequalities the exact same way that you solve equations, okay? It's just that this is like the equal sign this time. We have to keep that sign. That sign has to stay in the problem because that means something special. So for this one, y minus 5 is greater than negative 6. I'm going to add 5 to both sides. Okay, so my answer looks like this. Y is greater than negative 1. I have to write my answers like this. I can't just put y equals 1 because y equaling 1 and y greater, or negative 1, I'm sorry, and y greater than negative 1 is two different things. Why are these two different things different? Wait, what? Just be negative 1. It can't be anything else. But this one, it says y is greater than negative 1. What can that be? 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's the difference between an inequality and an equation answer, is an equation has one answer, while an inequality has many answers. Okay, so that's the difference between these two things. So this would be your answer for today. And I don't know if it asks you to graph or not, but let's just recall how to graph. How would I graph this answer if I needed to, Jackson? Okay, now just remember, this number doesn't have to be in the middle of the number line. I just do that way just to start so you know you have it on your number line. So if you see something with this number not in the middle, it doesn't mean it's wrong. So negative 1, 0, 1, negative 2, negative 3. Open circle towards this way. You are correct. Okay. Everybody remember? Okay. Let's try another one. Over there, what am I going to do? These are the easiest ones, aren't they? Subtract 5 from both sides. You get x is greater than or equal to 5. Yep. Let me get my book out, make sure that I'm not forgetting anything for this. No, this is just like the basics. It's going to get harder, but nothing you can't handle because you've done it all. I mean, you know how to solve equations, so if you can solve equations, you can solve this. Okay. Let's go to this one quickly. What would I do with this? It's 4 plus r is greater than negative 5. What am I going to do with that? I'm going to minus 4, right? Because a lot of people say, oh, I got to look at this sign. It's always whatever in front here. So minus 4, minusing 4. What's going to happen there? Keep, change, negative 9. So careful with your keep, change, because that's also going to happen again today. I feel like it's happened every day, so by now you should be kind of used to looking for it, hopefully. Hopefully. Okay. Let's do one. I'm just going to make one up here that has a fraction in it, because there's some that are going to have fractions in it. So r plus 3/4 is greater than 1 1/2. First of all, I have to make the same what? Denominator. When I add and subtract fractions, I have to have the same denominator. So if you need to write that, same denominator. So I can make this, we can make this 1 2/4. I'm just going to rewrite it. And then if you want to, you can make this in an improper fraction if you want. So it would be 6/4 if you want to do that. And I'm going to minus 3/4. The minus 3/4. So the r is greater than, what would this be? 3/4, yep. Yep. So make sure if you have fractions, you have the same denominator when you're adding or subtracting. Multiplying, dividing, it doesn't matter. But I know there's a few in here that have fractions, so I'm going to make sure that you know how to do those. Okay. Any questions on these? Let's go to multiplying and dividing, shall we? There we go. Okay. All right. So here's some examples of multiplying and dividing inequalities or inequalities problems. It's the same thing as if you were going to solve an equation. So on this first one, it says 7 times f is greater than or equal to 21. So if I want to undo that multiplication, what am I going to do? I'm going to divide to get rid of it. Just like what you did for your equations. F is greater than or equal to 3. Yeah. Yep. And then what about this? If you divide it by 4, if I'm dividing, I got to multiply to get rid of it. So u is going to be less than 32. Keep the sign. Except for, that's my next thing. Does anybody remember that? We had to flip a sign last year. There was a certain time when we had to flip a sign. There was a certain time. These, not so much. Anybody need this yet? Oops.
Is it whenever like something's negative?
Yep. Yes. Okay, here's your big rule. And you're going to want to know this and like circle it and like star it and like highlight it. And I'm going to put in a word here, inequality sign. Oh my gosh. Yep, so if you multiply or divide by a negative number, you have to switch the inequality sign. And I'll give you a lot of examples of these so you know when you need to switch it. Switch the inequality sign, not the positive or negative, the inequality sign. I think a lot of you figured out last year that if there was a negative number with the letter, then it had to be flipped. A lot of you said, okay, if it's with the letter, I know I have to flip the sign. And that is true. If the number with the letter, with the variable, is negative, then you have to switch the inequality sign. So, and you're going to solve just like you normally know how to solve. So x divided by negative 3 is less than 9. If I times by a negative number, see how this is a negative number? If I'm timesing there by a negative number and I'm timesing by that negative number, then I need to flip this sign. And the reason is this. That inequality sign doesn't understand the rules to multiplying negative numbers. Doesn't get it. It doesn't know that a negative times a negative is a positive. It doesn't know that a negative times a positive is a negative. The sign doesn't know that. Okay, so we have to be the one to physically flip it around. It also doesn't understand that the number line up there, see how it goes like 1, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4? It doesn't understand that the number line is mirrored. It automatically assumes that after 0, it starts with like the highest like negative number possible. Like it doesn't know that it just mirrors itself. And that's another reason why we have to flip that sign. So this would be the answer for this problem here. And then this one, and it doesn't matter too. The 7th graders are wondering, well, what if I have a sign like this? Do I still have to flip it? Yeah, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what kind of inequality sign is. You still have to flip it, whether it's greater than or less than or equal to. It doesn't matter. So for this one, I'm going to divide by negative 8. So notice how my number with the variable is negative. Divide by negative 8. So D is going to be less than negative 3. The answer there. So if the number with the variable is negative, then the sign has to switch. Somebody's going to forget that today. I need to show you another quick. This is a time where you do not switch the sign. Okay? Negative, negative you would. So like if it was this, negative 2D is greater than negative 10, like this one. Yep, you still would, because Is this number negative? Then yes, you would still flip it. D is greater than, actually, less than 5. So that's the time you'd have to flip it. A time you would not have to flip it is if I have 3D is greater than negative 18. Is this number with the variable negative? No, then you don't have to. Even though this one is, it does not matter. So D is greater than negative 6. If, see how this one's negative over here, and this one's not? You do not have to flip the sign because this one is not negative. It's always a number that's with the variable. If the number with the variable is negative, then it flips. If it's not, then you do not have to. So this is the time you would not have to flip. Time you would not have to. Okay? So far, so good? You try 2 by yourself. You try the 2 by yourself. You try these 2. Make sure you're writing your answer in the correct format, please. Make sure you have your answer written in the correct format. Don't just have as x equals this, or just the number. That will not fly. You cannot have that as an answer. Anybody want to share? Anybody want to share? You want to share? Okay, I'll wait a second. I will wait a second. All right, you about ready? Anybody want to share the first one? Anybody want to share the first one? Larissa? Correct. Nice job. This is greater than or equal to 10. Nice try. What about this one over here? Gabe? That is correct. Notice that this number was negative, so you had to multiply by a negative, so you had to flip the sign. So make sure. What's that? Okay, what I want to do is I for sure want to do one with fractions. Okay, I for sure want to do a few with some fractions to make sure you have some of those under your belt. So 14 and a half is less than b minus 1 and a half. One thing I noticed was sometimes when the number, the other part, when the parts are switched, our answer can get kind of screwed up, I noticed. So what, in this one, what I need to do first? Add the 1 and a half. Add 1 and a half. Oh, you can do the decimal. Go for it. So a lot of times people think, well, my b has to go first. You write it in the order of how it's left. So b comes down, this comes down, and what's 14 and a half plus 1 and a half? Anybody know? 16, yeah, 16. So you can have this as your answer, or if you'd rather flip it around, so you have your b first, you can do that also. You can do that too. Okay, I want you to try this one. Ready? You need a second yet? This one? 9, 10, 11. So yours would look like this, Gabe. That's what yours looks like? Okay. I want to do one that has a fraction included with it. So let's do negative 1/3 b is greater than 6. Negative 1/3 b is greater than 6. Negative 1/3. It's the same as a whole, like a negative 2 or a negative 7. So you're going to divide by what? Negative 1/3, right? To get rid of it. You divide by negative 1/3. And so this is going to be 6 over 1 times negative 3 over 1. So that's going to be negative 18. But what has to happen to that sign since it was a negative fraction? It has to flip. So that's what it should look like, just like that. Just like that. Okay, try this one. Ready? I'm going to keep going. I'm keeping going because it's going to progressively get harder and harder in your homework. So I want to make sure that you aren't like blindsided. Try that one. What is this one now like? A two-step equation, right? So it's just an inequality. It's just a two-step inequality. Just a two-step. If you'd write it on your paper, you wouldn't have a problem. Oh. No, you don't need to graph it. Just get the answer. I'm just worried about the answer. Just worried about the answer. Think about your sign. So you're going to minus 6. Negative 2d is greater than 18, right? 18. Negative 2 divided by negative 2. So it's going to be d should be less than negative 9. Because that negative 2 will change that sign. How are we doing? So far, so good. This is pretty easy, right? Because you've done it before. Let's do one where you have a variable on both sides. Remember those days? Variables on both sides. 2d plus 4 is less than or equal to 3d plus 6. I have no idea what this is going to turn out to be like so don't. Yep, because remember you're going to get out your duplicates. Am I either going to minus 2 or minus 3d from both sides? I don't know. It's going to probably be a terrible answer, but I just want to make sure you know how to get to it. So, yep, because you're always working with the variables first, and your goal is to get that variable on its by itself on one side. So you got to work to move some things around. Yep. Everybody get to this part? Okay, so I got a minus 6 then. It's going to be negative 2 is less than or equal to d. Yeah. I can. It's still going to be a negative 2. I can. It's still going to be a negative 2. Yeah. Divide by 1, divide by 1. Yep. So it's going to be negative 2. Yeah, it's still going to be like that. Yep. Have you not figured it out yet? It's like almost March and you still haven't figured out when you need to have to eat. So. Hey, what questions do you have for me? What questions do you have for me? Does everybody understand this, or do you want me to go over this one again? No? Are we okay? Gotta tell me. You want me to do another one? I can do another one like this. I can. Or I can just do it with you at your desk. I can do that too.